Russia investigation away from himself and to the person who held the job before him, former President Barack Obama. Mr. Trump is reacting to a bombshell report from the Washington Post. That report detailed how the Obama White House responded to Russian interference in the U.S. election, and also says that the call came from the top, from Vladimir Putin, to disrupt and basically interfere with the election process.
The report says the CIA first told Mr. Obama last August about Russia's meddling and that Russian President Putin wanted to help Donald Trump win the White House and defeat Hillary Clinton. President Trump wrote on Twitter about this: since the Obama administration was told way before the 2016 election that the Russians were meddling, why no action? Focus on them, not Trump.
The Obama administration did take actions to retaliate against Russia, but the Washington Post says some former senior Obama officials were frustrated that not more was done to punish Moscow.
President Trump also tweeted about that, saying Obama administration officials said they choked when it came to acting on Russian meddling of election. They didn't want to hurt Hillary. Earlier, our colleague Ana Cabrera spoke with one of the reporters who helped break the story. Here it is.
A lot of officials think that that sentiment, the choked sentiment, accurately reflects the views of many Obama administration officials. Other officials that we spoke to thought that that did not take into account the complexities that the top officials who had access to all the intelligence had to make these very tough decisions. These are not black and white issues, and when you weigh the pros and cons, you end up potentially deciding to do less rather than more. And so, these are very complex issues that Obama was dealing with at the end. And so, we were trying in this piece, in this article, to explain those and lay them out so people can understand what was going on behind the scenes.
Based on what you're hearing, and I know you talked to more than 36 current and former U.S. officials, from all these experts who knew this investigation well, what could the Trump administration now do moving forward to combat the threat?
Well, I have seen nothing really to suggest that the Trump administration is looking at trying to combat this threat. Maybe my reporting is faulty there. Maybe I haven't dug deeply enough to see what they're doing on this. But I have not seen anything in my reporting that suggests that they are addressing this issue. And Congress is so divided, that I'm personally skeptical that there would be a major effort to try to do something.
Let's talk more about this report. Let's bring in Brian Klaas. He teaches comparative politics at the London School of Economics. Brian, good to have you with us live in London this hour. The President of the United States pointing the finger now at the former President Barack Obama, asking why that administration did not do more. Does President Trump have a point here? Should more have been done, more have been said, given the weight of the information they had?
Well, I think President Obama was in a catch-22 situation. The intelligence showed that Putin was directing Russia to interfere in the U.S. election to help Trump. If he had gone public about that earlier, he would have been accused immediately by the Trump campaign of meddling in the election himself and trying to help Hillary Clinton. But I do think he should have done more. I think that he should have put politics aside and taken the heat and done more to deter Russian interference in the election. But it's very rich coming from President Trump, because his accusation that President Obama did not do enough, we have no evidence that President Trump is doing anything to prevent this from happening again, and Russia is still trying to interfere in our democracy. It's an ongoing problem. So I think, we need to take stock of the fact that this is something where, yes, maybe Obama did not do enough, but President Trump is not even acknowledging that this is a problem, and he's trying to have it both ways. Like with news and with polls, when the story does not fit his narrative, it's fake or a hoax. And 3 days ago, he called the Russian hack a hoax. Now, yesterday, he says Obama did not do enough to prevent the Russian hack. You cannot have it both ways. Those are mutually exclusive claims, and it's illogical for the President of the United States to make them simultaneously.
We're hearing more about how Obama officials in that administration, how they were conflicted in deciding how to handle this information. Listen here to the former director of the National Security Agency, General Michael Hayden, speaking with my colleague Michael Smerconish. We can talk about it here on the other side.
The saddest chapter in that long narrative yesterday was when the administration sent the experts up to the Hill to brief the senior leadership of American Congress, seeking some sort of bipartisan statement with regard to this, and they couldn't get it. The Republicans particularly backed away speculating here because they felt joining that kind of consensus might have hurt their candidates' chances. I don't know. But coming out of that meeting, you now have the administration pulling back, not being as forceful as I've suggested they should have been, again, to avoid the appearances that they were partisan and they were trying to rig the election. This was not our finest hour.
So pointing out that that was not their finest hour, again, the question, though, being raised, given the information that they had, this came straight from the top, from the Russian President Vladimir Putin to disrupt and discredit the U.S. election process. Do you get the sense, with these officials now talking about this report, that they should have done more?
Yes, I think they should have. But I think what Michael Hayden is rightly highlighting is that this should be a wake-up call for our democracy. We were attacked by a foreign adversary, and people are not taking that seriously enough. But beyond that, the reason why Obama probably did not act was because we live in such a partisan, polarized world that even something like an attack on our democracy polarizes people. Some people think it's a big deal, some people do not. Many Republicans still do not believe that Russia was involved, in spite of the fact that all intelligence agencies agree on this. Everybody on the Hill agrees with this. And the only person who is still acting as an apologist for Vladimir Putin is in the Oval Office. So I think, we have to take into consideration the fact that our democracy is under threat. It's under threat from abroad, and it's under threat from at home, where we are turning on each other and not even being able to agree that this threat is something that we need to defend the United States against. And that is where I think we need to put partisanship aside. Yes, Obama made mistakes, but Trump needs to fix them. He doesn't need to just put blame on the Obama White House. He needs to fix this problem and defend American democracy from the ongoing attacks that Russia is launching against the United States and its democratic system.
And Brian, one other question here, and briefly, we have a limited amount of time, but the president is soon to face the Russian president, a face-to-face at the G20 in about 2 weeks' time. Whether they will meet for substantive discussions, that's another matter and another question. But the optics of this face-to-face, given the various investigations that are underway, what do you expect?
Well, I mean, it's very hard to tell because Putin's view in Trump's mind seems to be as somebody who's a positive force in the world, which is baffling. But I think that, any normal president should be talking about ramping up sanctions against Putin and punishing him for this unprecedented attack on American democracy. And I can only hope that he would do it, but I don't have high hopes for that meeting.
Brian Klaas, live for us in London. Brian, thanks for the insight.